during this momentous occasion. Before we proceed, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to Craft Silicon, a remarkable organization that continues to revolutionize the world of finance and technology. We offer a comprehensive range of fintech solutions, varying from core banking solutions to mobile banking apps, WhatsApp banking, agency banking, AI solutions, and even digital transformations for nationalized system. Just imagine having all of your financial needs met by just one company. And that is what Craft Silicon offers. Craft Silicon, but you see, our impact goes way beyond just our product offerings. We are passionate about making a real impact on people's lives. We are committed to financial inclusion, ensuring that everyone, regardless of their background, has access to banking services. We have empowered over millions of unbanked individuals across Africa and in several parts of Asia to access basic financial services conveniently and securely. Craft Silicon's commitment to innovation, our comprehensive range of fintech solutions, and our focus on financial inclusion makes us a true 360-degree fintech provider. We are using technology to transform lives, drive economic growth, and place Africa at the forefront of the global tech scene. But that's not it. What's even more impressive is Craft Silicon's need to give back to the society through the Craft Silicon Foundation. We operate on a solar panel bus with fitted computers inside, where we go to the slums and provide free ICT education to the less fortunate in Africa and in India. So it's with great pleasure that I welcome Munini to stage. We're going to be having a panelist session to talk more about the BNPL. Thank you so much.
And right about time when we start this conversation, so we will have industry players to talk about buy now, pay later, some of the challenges we're facing in the industry, and just to have an overview of what to expect in the next 10 years with BNPL. Now, as we arrange the stage, we want to put our minds together to ensure that once the panel comes here and they talk about the topic at large, we will have a Q&A after that, and we want to hear what your views are and what questions you have, because it is only by asking questions that we learn. True or false? So let's give them 2 minutes as they arrange the stage, and then we'll get on and call the panelists. All right. So the first person we're calling out is Steve Jenga. Steve works for Equity, and he has over 20 years experience in IT and innovation. Now, Steve has worked for global brands around the world, bringing a wealth of experience and expertise in technological solutions. He is currently the CIO Payments and Digital Lending at Equity, and he has held this position for over 3 years. Steve, come on stage. As he comes on stage, we will invite Keval Kanani, who is the director at Hotpoint Appliances Limited. This is the largest retailer in electronics and home appliances. Keval specializes in technology and business, and he will work for Citibank in the UK. And he came back home over 17 years ago to run the business with his family. Keval Kanani. Next, we have someone who has experience in buy now, pay later as a consumer. He's called Timothy Nandoher. He's an interior architect, has a vast experience in this sector, from employment with top-notch actuarial firms. He's now an entrepreneur who has worked with big brands such as Tuskys, Naivas, and major banks in East Africa, helping turn spaces into beautiful spaces. Now, Timothy, come on stage. All right, and then we have Charles Kinyanjui. Charles Kinyanjui is the head of new ventures and fintech development at National Bank. Charles' experience is majorly from the banking and telco sectors. He has worked with tier one banks such as Equity, Cooperative Bank, and his current employer. Product is where his strength lies. He has nurtured a number of products in the digital space. Charles? Last but not least, we have Isaac Opio. He is the product manager at TransUnion. Now, we cannot have buy now, pay later conversations without TransUnion. He is a digital finance services champion, over 10 years experience in product development and management in the finance sector. He's passionate about consumer protection and on enhancing access to credit and financial inclusion. He has facilitated and participated in several local and global conferences on digital financial solutions. Welcome, Isaiah. Okay. So they have decided I'll take the middle seat, maybe because I'm the lady. All right. So we'll just jump right onto it, and my first question will go to Steve. So we are saying as buy now, pay later products become popular in the market, and I think over the last 7 years, people have talked about buy now, pay later. So are the consumers increasing. I mean, I know initially consumers were, what is this? But today you don't have to sell it too much. So my question is, as a bank, what are you doing to ensure that you tap into the 57% of unbanked customers in Africa? Yeah, that should be good. Yes.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. So I think, first of all, when it comes to BNPL, banks have not really implemented true BNPL. We do a lot of loans at the point of sale, mostly is where we've come. But I think the fintechs are really eating up that market. For banks, we're very, very risk averse. So the unbanked obviously tend to be what we'd consider high risk. And some of the things we're doing, especially at Equity, is trying to tap into the data that we have for our customers. We're the biggest bank in the region. We have a lot of data that we're tapping in. We've developed our own scoring engines, perhaps not as efficient as they should be because we just look at your transactional behavior, money in, money out. It's that simple. And it doesn't cover all the bases. So when you buy something with cash, we wouldn't know. Yet most of the unbanked are using cash, or M-Pesa is the most digital they get. So what we're trying to do is look at developing applications that facilitate lifestyle so that you don't have to be an account holder to transact on our applications, for example. Okay. And if we can tap into that data, then we can definitely do a lot better credit scoring and entice the customer to use, our BNPL flavor type of loans to purchase products.
Okay, and maybe just to expand on that a bit, I know we've had a conversation about this previously. So I'm a young person. I'm not earning a lot of money, but I want to feel like the bank is somewhere where I can walk in. Now, obviously, if I walked in, I cannot afford to get a 250K unsecured facility because probably my income is not that much. But we want to know, what will the banks tell this customer? Especially because now buy now, pay later caters for that consumer in that you don't have to have a huge limit or a high income to be a consumer who can access buy now, pay later, as long as you have good credit rating. So maybe you just expand to that, and then we will go to Charles, who will expand it further into how you want to tap into that consumer.
Yeah, so first of all, it's no longer just, banks have to pivot from being a bank to being a provider of services, of things that we do as a consumer, whether you're high net worth or an unbanked individual. So as long as we can tap into your everyday lifestyle, that's key. then we have enough information on you or enough data points on you to be able to give you that loan. So if you're going to do BNPL, for example, like I said, you don't need to be a bank customer.
Yeah.
But can we forward you that loan? Can we give you that credit? And on what basis? One of the challenges we face is that there's not enough data points in the industry. Like I said, our credit bureaus just focus on whether you've paid or not paid your loan. We don't collect data on whether you've paid your rent on time. If you're divorced or single, what's your age? All these data points that would really enhance the credit scoring engine and reduce the defaults, because that's what banks are afraid of, defaults on loans. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Charles, from where you stand, where do you see you tapping into that young consumer? It's a whole target audience that can no longer be ignored. So maybe I want to hear what you have in plans, especially new ventures, buy now, pay later.
Thank you, and thank you, Winnie. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very honored to be here. Maybe let me do a background. At some point when COVID struck, that is on March 2020, some of the key things that we started picking, I'd push it like, let's say, transitioning from 2019, was a growth of some relative market, especially in the retail space. So we call it trade in banking. And here I'm talking about food, clothing, the groceries and all. And what you could actually detect was people were scoping more of out of kind of locations, so proximity was something else. A bit of logistics started picking, and again, there was some headache people needed to sort out. Because of the trappings of COVID, definitely people needed something that was non-interest based, if you get it. But by fashion, these people were actually a certain demographic. We are not talking about the over 40, let me put it, or 45. Majority of them were these people who were bringing in into the financial ecosystem. So if you look at what happened was a merchant is a trader. What they were looking for is actually, kind of accelerated or catalyzed movement of trade or goods, but they're looking at a subset that for some reason cannot make, I'd say, full payments. So majority of, I saw e-commerce transition from, I'd say, $21 million to around 140 B in around 2022. But again, the sizable thing that we looked at in Kenya was this thing was a bit, let me use that word, was a very clandestine, yeah? Everybody was doing it as a deal. So it's about Harry coming to this guy called Joe, and he said, give me this t-shirt for 200 shillings, I'll pay you within 6 months. So I'm usually torn on the bit of how we place BNPL. Is it really a debt or a loan kind of product, or is it all about an installment kind of payment? If you look at banking products, we facilitate loans, that's our core business. Our BAU is not really into BNPL. And our role has actually transitioned on the bit of, when I sit with fintechs, I want to understand what this person is telling me. If it's about grocery, how do I score this person into getting things above 2,000 Kenya shillings? After they consume it, will they be able to pay for it? So ideally, what is that kind of divide that we have? But if you're looking at the marginal score, the verticals are too huge. One, you want to look at the market share that all of us have. We are equal competitors. Two, you want to attract the Gen Z. Let us not forget of a generation that is coming that has nothing to do with banking. Not a place they want to understand. They're actually platform-based. They want to interact on value ecosystems. Two, if it's a device, I want to own an iPhone 14 and pay for it for the next 24 months. How do I do that? And it's non-interest. How do I make it non-expensive for me in that if I make those payments well in time, I'll not be penalized? What are my support structures as a merchant? Because there's another subset of customers that we don't talk about. The person who's doing the actual stocking. For instance, if I was selling a high, I'd say value or something that is very likable to a certain subset, one thing that will mostly happen, they'll actually run out. And stocking levels have to pick in. So how do you size that merchant? How do you help them? How do you tap also into ecosystem that you're strong at? As NBK, we're very strong into ministries, departments, and agencies, in government. So how do we help things like water, sanitation, and health? How do we look at the education vertical? Can they be able to tap into this kind of segments? So those are the roles that banking has a way of playing into. And what is the timeline? Maybe we'll speak about them later.
Okay, thank you. And it's quite interesting when you talk about looking at buy now, pay later as a loan facility or as an installment, because I think the notion of interest usually has people looking at it as a different product, but it is meant to enable people's lives. So we'll jump into that a little bit later, but I want to have a conversation with Isaiah before I go to Keval. So Isaiah, you've had two bankers talk about the challenges that they are facing in terms of acquiring this consumer who is a potential consumer for buy now, pay later. Now, of course, 7 years is a long time to be in this space where we've talked about buy now, pay later. What are you doing as a credit referencing to ensure that this consumer has equal space in this market with, as we call it, a facility? If I cannot acquire an unsecured facility, I can acquire buy now, pay later, but I don't have credit scores. So what are you doing?
Thanks so much indeed. My name is Isaiah from TransUnion Credit Reference Bureau. So if I look at it keenly, BNPL is an opportunity for consumers actually to build credit profiles. And because the issue is, if there is no data, it means we cannot score you. The same way, I mean, you cannot go to Kenya National Examination Council and ask for results if you've not done exams. So what are we doing? Like, for instance, I'll give a case where in Kenya, I would say over around 35% do not have credit scores because they have never borrowed. But if you were to look at it in terms of Okoa Jahazi, you would find that all population has already taken Okoa Jahazi. So what we are suggesting is, instead, I know BNPL partners or players out there would be more lenient to consumers out there in the sense that, one, they may not really be more interested in sharing data, then at the same time, they would not be interested in, perhaps not interested in checking. But this is what I would give. Number one, credit bureaus or credit information is all not about the credit history only. We look at the affordability, because that young man out there, you know very little about him, especially in a situation where you're going to lend to him. I mean, you're going to extend the services on a platform. You know very little about him. Number two, that is in terms of affordability. Number two, in terms of credit history. Remember, one of the key issues that leads to delinquencies over indebtedness. So you could actually be extending that service to me, but you don't know that I'm over indebted. And that is exactly what most digital lenders are facing today, especially the ones that were lending binary, meaning they check credit bureau to check whether you are listed or not, then they give you a loan. But today, they have realized that it actually calls for more than that. Then number three, we're talking about the issue of fraud. So there's already fraud, and this one I can actually attest to, especially newly launched products. That one I can tell you here. Newly launched products, there's a lot of fraud that by the time you get to establish that there's been some fraudulent activities going on is perhaps after a year. And during that time, you look at all these inquiries coming like, these are potential requests from clients. So by partnering with us, we are also able to authenticate that customer before you lend to them. And lastly, this is an opportunity also for you to actually build their credit profile. Remember, when it comes to a BNPL, with a loan facility out there, it is an obligation, a future obligation. You should actually ascertain whether this guy called Isaiah, whom you're actually extending this service to, is he likely to pay you into the future? And what about his past? Because you would actually, that guy could actually be trying to afford, actually living a life that he cannot afford. And so that's why we actually encourage that there's need even for BNPL, providers actually to extend credit. And lastly, when digital credit came into place, back in 2016, there was very little data about digital loans. And that particular time, we were not able to come up with a specific credit score that tailors for them. However, over time, today we have what we call a mobile loan scorecard that can actually help you to extend loans to digital lenders. And it's different from the normal mobile score for a mortgage. So my hope is that by the time BNPL players come on board, share data, and that data density comes in, then we'll be able to build a credit score.
Oh,
thank you.
Wow. So I know we'll circle back to Steve on the score card that he's talking about, but let's talk to Keval a little bit. I know Hotpoint is one of those organizations that took on buy now, pay later in their retail stores earlier in the days. So as a merchant, you have embraced buy now, pay later. Now, tell us why first, it's important in your stores. Two, how has that growth been since the first inception? And maybe question 3, as you get on to 8, is what have you seen as a plus, and also what could be made better in terms of who is offering buy now, pay later in your stores?
Thanks, Carol. As we know, we used to work together at Hotpoint a number of years back. When we introduced it, we said it's very important because the potential for the products are huge. Those of us who've been abroad in the UK, the US, we've all used Klarna, Affirm, and we've seen how fast you can access the product financing. Now, as my colleague Isaiah said, we also need to make sure there's responsible lending so that we are not pushing loans onto somebody that cannot pay. But there are a number of us that have different commitments at different times. People have kids' school fees. And you also want to aspire to live a better life, to experience a better home. And you've come in, for example, to Hotpoint, and you've seen somebody wants a 50-inch TV. And at that time, they can only afford, let's say, a 40-inch because they have a mortgage and other payments. With this product, they know that they can pay a deposit and then pay the balance in installments, or they can get the full product in installments. So we found that's very important because you're getting a different set of consumers that you previously would not have. Because previously a lot of people would be locked out because of commitments. And we know that that's very important to include them. I think the second question was, how has this grown? When we started, it could have been 0.5% to 0.75% of our retail turnover. Today, when we are looking at it, it's grown to 5 or 6%. So we're seeing that the potential is huge. If we look at countries like Mauritius, etc., especially in the electronics and furniture space, the data that we're getting is up to 50% of revenue is on BNPL. So you can see the potential that we are literally just scratching the surface at the moment in Kenya compared to what the potential is and where we are. So it's a very important aspect. As long as the interest rates are right, the KYCs are done, I think there's no reason why we could not be where the other countries are. And I think, Carol, your last question was what could be done differently. So we have a number of partners, and we would segregate them into 2. One, as you've seen on our website, there would be the goal-based savings. So there you would say, okay, I have 90 days, I'm going to pay every month 30,000 shillings, for example. When I reach 90,000, I've got my TV or my fridge, and you then take it home. That's becoming fairly popular, but not as popular as the buy now, pay later. The buy now, pay later, we've seen people still walk in, they need to fill out the KYC, as I said, probably go to TransUnion for the credit check, and then they would, based on their credit scoring and other metrics, they would get a loan. They would then come to the store and saying, okay, this is what I can get. They would fill out some paperwork electronically, which would not take very long, and they would go out with the product. But what we've not seen is something revolutionary, where what I understand that if it could be done online or very quickly, where they've got a pre-approved limit. So what we refer to in retail is the reward and the friction points. If we can remove the friction points out of the consumer journey and have the reward points where it's seamless, there's a seamless integration, the journey, it creates a wow factor for the consumer. So if Craft Silicon, the Spot product, can offer that, then I believe that will be the game changer in Kenya, East Africa, even the wider part. So that's something that we would really want to see, and Kenyans at large, I'm sure, would want that.
Okay, great. Now, I would ask the audience, but because we have a consumer who has used buy now, pay later with us, let's turn to Timothy. Now, Timothy, I've got so many questions for you, but I'm going to ask you probably 2 or 3 questions. Okay. One is, you have used buy now, pay later before.
Yeah.
What was your experience? Okay, first and foremost, why buy now, pay later? Because when I look at your profile, I would say this is a consumer who can be able to walk into a store and purchase the item in cash. So why buy now, pay later is the first question. 2, how has it fared for you in terms of your financial management? And then 3, how was that process? for you? Because I know Keval is talking about how an easier process would work, but you have experienced what is currently in the market. So take us through the three questions just to understand from a consumer point of view.
Okay, thank you. On your first question about buy now, pay later, I would say this. My experience has been sort of 50-50. I may say it in this way. The main reason we go for something like buy now, pay later is not specifically because of debt, if I may so say. It's all about cash flow management. In our industry especially, we find ourselves in a lot of situations whereby you have the daily worker that you need to pay every end of week. And because of that, you have to make sure that this money is available, because dealing with fundis, they're not very, very understanding. But you still have to supply materials on site, you still have to supply things on site, and now you realize that with the amount of money you have, yes, you can afford. I could walk into Hotpoint and say, maybe buy the latest technology that is out there. But I ask myself two questions. If I pay the ticket price right now, will I be able to meet other payments later on in the week? However, I know I can afford the product, but can I make my cash flow work for me? So if I may speak to the buy now, pay later products currently in the market, I can say the most important thing I would say as a consumer is ease. I'll speak to something that Equity Bank is currently offering, something called the ecosystem management, whereby if I'm buying from a hardware that is banked by Equity, Equity now comes in between us and says that, okay, fine, you go ahead, supply the product, and then we shall guarantee that this person shall pay you maybe in 2-3 installments. So if Craft Silicon can go that extra step, because I may not be banking with Equity, I might be banking with probably Barclays, Standard Chartered, whichever it is, and I find myself in a situation whereby I want something. How easy can you make it for me as a consumer to access the products that I need? It might not be luxury products, it might even be essential products. The other day, my wife called me, washing machine had broken down. I think I called you. And you understand, it's not something we had budgeted for, but it just broke down and it needed to be bought, and that's how we went. So that being said, I would say the opportunity exists in two ways. One, apart from the point of sale point, I believe as banks and even as Craft Silicon, you can also help the merchant in driving traffic towards the merchant. I have seen that a lot in situations whereby, okay, it's new here, but in places like in Australia where buy now, pay later is really advanced, you find situations whereby you are directed to merchants who will offer you the product that you want using the facility that you want.
Oh, great. And you mentioned something that will, I'll circle back about the scorecard a little bit later, but he's talked about something as an opportunity for him. One, he is a consumer in his own self, but he has a business. So if tomorrow he needs something for his business, can he use his limit, assuming he has a buy now, pay later limit, to purchase something for his, and which brings the conversation about SMEs and how we look at the SMEs in Kenya, and the fact that chances are the people buying for the SMEs are buying through their individual facility or access to credit. Now, as a bank, are we seeing that as a growing trend, or is there a disconnect between the SMEs and the individual purchasing?
So, yeah. What you're referring to is something we call ecosystem financing. So basically, if you take, let's say, a tea factory in Bomet, one of those places, you have the factory itself, you have the outgrowers, the farmers who grow tea, then you have the suppliers to the, to the farmers, and obviously the factory itself. So to tap into that, what we've done is we finance the entire ecosystem. So starting with the farmers, we can get enough information on them from the business they do with the tea factory. So that already opens the door into a credit facility, be it BNPL or any other type of credit facility. And in that instance, we're leveraging the information we get from the factory itself. So the farmer is growing tea, but there could also be an SME. Typically we have many businesses, we're all hustlers, right?
Yeah.
But we start with that first engagement where we know there is constant transactions between the farmer and the tea factory. The tea factory will process their payments through us, so we can see the money going to the farmers. But that opens the door for the farmer, who's a small farmer, and most of those, like in Bomet, only get like 2,000 to 5,000 shillings a month from a quarter acre of tea, so it's not a lot of money. No, it's not a big income. But that's enough information for us once we can finance the fertilizers that they need to pay. And as we gather more data from them, they can then access those credit facilities, either BNPL or short-term loans, when they go to buy other, inputs. Because most farmers are not just doing tea; they're doing other things as well. They may even need school fees. But as we build the data points, we can start extending the credit limits. And that data is what we use to score the farmers too, so we can get into the entire ecosystem. SMEs, the factories, everybody then is in the loop.
Okay. The other day, someone brought in a very interesting concept where we have some data, but we are not using this data. I mean, I'll still go back to that 25 to 30-year-old uni kid who's left uni and now he's started his first job. This is someone who probably has a rental, a one-bedroom rental somewhere in the mid-suburbs, or they can afford 10 to 15,000 rent per month. But this is someone who pays electricity on a monthly basis. They pay water bills and other regular bills that they're able to. If we looked at that data, we can call into this consumer and say, okay, they might not be earning your 100,000, but we have some data that we are working with to see how they pay whatever it is that they're paying on a monthly basis. Are they paying on time? Are they paying the actual amount? So I have a question for you, and you, Charles from the bank, and Isaiah from TransUnion. When do we start consuming this data? Because as long as we are saying we don't have data, we will not go over and beyond to look at different ways of acquiring the data. So do you see this as a form of some place where we can start and then take it further into as we bring them closer to us? Because if you tell this consumer, I don't know you that much, but let's start somewhere. So have you thought about those areas and such ideas?
Yeah, sure. I think it will start with the TransUnions and the CRDBs collecting that data, the data that's outside our purview.
Yes.
Like you said, your power payments, your rent, obviously landlords then reporting to the credit bureaus and things like that.
Yes.
That introduces a bit of a data privacy issue, but that can be dealt with legally. If we get that data as a bank, then we can definitely score you.
Good.
We can definitely score you. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think maybe before Charles comments, so Isaiah, I think this one is the ball is on your court.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the key things that is quite important to point out is the role of alternative data we cannot overemphasize that. It is key. Because if today, for instance, I look at the youth, especially the new guys who are coming on board, they get an ID today, and the next thing, they are on digital loans. And you'd find that by the time they are coming to a main bank or a mainstream bank, they already have so many mobile loans out there. And not only that, there are also other pockets of alternative data, like the ones like utility, Kenya Power, also data from the telecos in terms of how often you call, how often you load your credit and all that. As a business, we're actually working with certain partners to actually come on board in terms of acquiring alternative data, because we cannot underscore that. I mean, it's the new thing. Because one of the key things that TransUnion does, we make trust possible. That is exactly what we do in business. That is exactly what we do as a business. We make trust possible. There's no way there can be a transaction or a financial transaction between two people who do not know each other. We come in and say, excuse me, we make that trust possible. And that, the only way we can do that is the more we get data. And so, in the next, before the close of the year, we're actually going to be revealing to you some of the steps or some of the projects we're working on in terms of alternative data. One of them being having a mobile app such a way that if a client out there does not have a credit score, because remember, a credit score here, we're talking about, it is an egg and end thing, because if you've never borrowed, we can't score you. And again, the bank will not lend it to you if you don't have a score. So the issue is which one comes first? Is it the score that comes first or the other one? So we want a situation where if you are rejected by the bank, or before you go to the bank to look for facility, you get into our mobile app. As you check your credit score, whichever your credit profile, we scrub that data, that alternative data, and with that we're able to score you. So all those, we're actually working to make trust possible, especially between two entities who have not known each other. Number two, the issue, and this is why it's key also to actually get access to data from TransUnion as well. There's a trend of what we call celebrity lifestyle, and it's among the youth, the TikTok generation. And what I mean is they want to live up there. So if you are going as a BNPL, you want to lend to them without access to data because you are lenient, because globally BNPL are seen to be lenient, they don't want to check, they don't want to share data. I mean, you will end up with that generation because they live celebrity lifestyle up there, and within a short time they'll not be able to afford. And just like he said, this should be responsible, a credit that can actually transform life. That is exactly why we are here. Yeah, so we'll be reaching out to partners as well. We'll also be notifying you, especially on the steps and the milestone we are working on in regard to alternative data. Thank you.
I think the conversation I'm hearing here is there needs to be a lot of consumer education, especially with regards to borrowing, so that when they're young, they know you're borrowing for a reason, and you're not borrowing to be above your means. We see these conversations will start when they're young, and that's why I'll keep saying, let's talk about that consumer when they're 25, when they're getting into the system of a habit, and the habit for BNPL becomes, I'm buying to either upgrade my lifestyle or I'm buying for a particular need. And I think that is, I don't know about you, Charles, but I will take his comment as we open to the floor for a few questions, and then we will come back and have the last comments from the panelists as we conclude this. But what's your thought process on that?
Yeah, my thinking is, and I'm happy for, that bit of, that scoring aspect. The aspect about building trust. When you look at banking, we actually bank on trust. Ideally, that's why you're not sitting with all your money here. So the way we do our, let me use it, linkage to this ecosystem is you have to understand the upstream and the downstream of BNPL. In major sense, for now, I'll put it for now, majority of us banks are not building into these kind of platforms. We don't own these gadgets, we don't own these kind of things. So there are platforms that are actually made out of a certain vertical. Either you're doing trade, you're in agriculture, call it. There are many ways of looking at it. Hotpoint could be doing in-store as well as online way of provisioning it. But if you look at the downstream aspect of it, we don't touch the end guy if you measure it. The Gen Z is not very well known to the bank. Unless they're coming for a personal loan, then we'll need to know more about them. But on a BNPL kind of segment, we are looking at a provider who is a trader or an aggregator of traders, a merchant, and how they are able to work closely with these scoring algorithms to actually have some firm grip in terms of repeated patterns, just to get to know the 360 of this person they're actually provisioning this service to. There are key lessons. I mean, there's been success stories, and of course there's been challenges around it, but the affirmative way of looking at it is what we said when we introduced this topic, responsible lending. Because when we walk under a certain lifestyle, I remember reading about the struggles that providers like Clinch and even a farm had there. They're providing BNPL to pensioners, and a guy would actually go to a store and buy groceries for like $40. You know very well that person is going to struggle to pay it back. Then why did you provision? Was it the acceleration, the speed, the grid? How did you look at it? Now, once he forms that data subset, and he said he does that kind of analysis, We use it also to help our merchants. Remember, for us, it's about diversifying our product portfolio. So you're looking at how do I make sure that I have a differentiated value ecosystem. Otherwise, our market share is going to be diluted. So we're talking about, you want new people on the floor, you want them to come and sample your banking products, but then if I don't have such partnerships, like with Kraft, what again am I talking about? Ideally, these are the differentiator. But where you should be careful is how you treat this data, how you collect it, how you consume it, and most importantly, the responsibility that comes with ensuring that you are not offloading so much to a point where, for some reason, you devalue your own kind of trade.
All right. So I think at this point, we'll take a few questions from the audience, just a few, and maybe when you stand, you can introduce yourself and ask the question, maybe channel it to one of the panelists. So we have people with the mics. Do we have any questions on the floor? Okay. If we don't have questions, we will have the final words from, so I'm looking at the panelists. 1 minute, Carol, what do you want to see? There is a product launch today, so no one knows what it is, but tell us, what's your expectation in 1 minute, each person?
Thanks, Carol, and also to the other panelists. I think what we would want to see through a consumer lens, not necessarily through the retailer lens, was how fast can the loan be approved? What is the process of getting it? And is it going to be paperless so that I can get out with my product? I know that what the loan I've got is also something I can afford without going through multiple hoops. So if I have something that I know what I can afford before I get to the store, as opposed to getting disappointed, I get to the store and then I find out, okay, I can't afford this, I have to downgrade. But I already know, let's say, some sort of limit which is there. If that could be done at a minimum process, I think that would be a game changer, as mentioned before.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. A couple of things. One, as a bank, as we say, in God we trust, everybody else bring data. So hopefully we'll get that data from TransUnion and the other banks. That's internal. As far as a product like this great product from Kraft Silicon, BNPL, as a consumer, I'd like to see it embedded in as many of my payments journeys as possible, be it going to shop at Point or even paying for a ride on Little Cap. It would be good if we could do it there, because I may want to take a ride from here to, Machakos, which cost me 1,000 shillings. The more it's embedded in the payments journey, right at the sweet spot, and it's frictionless, I think you mentioned that, that's key for the consumer. That would definitely, I think, be a game changer. BNPL is, at least in this market, is very sort of centered around big ticket items. But I think the opportunity is in the small ticket items, and that's where it is. Thanks.
For me, the way I look at it is, I think there's some bit of acceleration to this kind of drive. We are picking up, and definitely it's good to also understand the lessons that actually globally have been exhibited. The role of banking is actually on that aspect of ensuring that financial inclusion is actually a net of all these kind of, I'd say, upstream discussions. I'm talking about merchants. All these points are actually connected to each other. So for us is to ensure that we embrace partnerships. We ensure that at least we can facilitate and we accommodate ideation and productization around what we have with fintechs. And ideally also to guide them, because we've been there. Loans have been processed in banks for the longest. So how do you make sure that at least you handhold these fintechs in the morality change, in the aspect of ensuring that at least you protect the end customers, and you drive that essence and story about financial inclusion. Thanks.
Timothy?
I would say as a consumer, let's look into the ease of the whole process, because if there's one thing I've come to notice over time is that when it gets too complicated, we walk away from it. I remember my last experience with BNPL, I was asked to print statements, and unfortunately my bank statements are a few pages long per month. So when I looked at taking all that paperwork to the bank, I just thought to myself, you know what, just go buy this thing and sort this thing later. So if we can make the actuarial science behind the whole process much easier and make sure that the consumer gets the best of what they can get. I like what our panelists from Hotpoint said. If I can have a limit, if I can know my limit even before I go out, it would make things a lot easier for me, as opposed to starting the process, then being told, okay, go first, find out what your limit is and come back. That would really help. So if you can ease the process between approval and purchase, it would make a big difference.
Great. Isaiah?
Yeah, so that we don't swipe the gain that will actually register in the next, like, 1 year. I would actually propose that we authenticate customers. What does it mean? Fraudsters are actually going to come. And I don't want to be a prophet of doom. This is something that has been established. Every new product that has a bit of flexible kind of terms, people rush to it, especially fraudsters. Yeah, so then number two, let us look at our indebtedness, because celebrity lifestyle. Everyone over here, if you are in your 25, if you look at your financial behavior in your 25, you'll be like, I was raving, enjoying entertainment and everything. You don't want those guys to actually mess up with the system. Then lastly, also things like, apart from trust, also growth opportunities. Because that data is what will actually help you to determine actually things like limits and all that. Then lastly, me as a consumer, while we were seated here, I was looking at if this product had come like a year back, where I was buying a tank with Copia to deliver it back up country, I would go for it, because I buy from merchant, let's say Copia, and Copia delivers it back there, I already enjoy it, whatever it is. So I still agree there's need for you also to work with merchants who can actually deliver, and especially the ones that will make the consumer journey more convenient, rather than, go and buy a tank there, carry it with you, because I'll still need money to carry it and ferry it back home. You work with those that have a good consumer journey. But I'm so happy this is the right time, and the market is ready. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Just one more.
Yeah.
Sorry, just one more was, I think what we would want to also see is the interest rate should be a lot sharper, because currently some of the rates can be pretty punitive, similar to how we've seen the Finance Act is, so we want something much more better.
I think we will not have closed without mentioning the Finance Act. But thank you very much, everyone. I mean, I think let's give it up for them, because it's not easy to come up here and have conversations. So as they get out of stage and we usher in the new conversation coming up, thank you so much. I will let you guys just take your steps off stage. So, and I think one of the things that I have carried home today is the consumers want convenience. Consumers want ease of process. So what are we about to offer? And are we going to offer that ease of process? Are we going to offer that convenience? And for the next part of this, as we get the chairs out of stage, we will invite Simir back on stage as she ushers in the next speaker. Yeah, so let's have the chairs out. So thank you very much, and we are drawing closer to why we came here today, but I don't want to burst everyone's bubble. So let's wait for Simir as she gives us the next station. So I think, let me bring one. She needs.
All right, thank you so much, Winini. That was a very insightful panel discussion. I hope you all enjoyed it. In case you guys do have any questions for our panelists, please do not hesitate to ask us. It is now with great pleasure that I invite the amazing BNPL, the solution that cracked silicon will bring to reality. Mr. Kamal, our group CEO and visionary, will guide us through this. Thank you so much. Mr. Kamal, please.
Always ends, stops working at the last moment. So good morning. My name is Kamal. I'm the founder and group CEO at Craft Silicon. So the BNPL, yes, we discussed a few things on the BNPL. Now, as a customer, I just wanted to share you a few things why we came into this product, and I'll present you what we have. So Craft Silicon, first of all, we always believe in simplicity. When I'll show you the product, you might say to see this product for like half a minute product, you have been waiting here for this long, such a simple product. It's extremely simple product, that's one. I think everything in Craft Silicon is simple. You can see me, I'm the CEO, but I'm simple, yeah? The other thing that I want to mention is how existing BNPL products are working. For example, there are a couple of BNPL products running in our market. You download the app, then you go to the shop. For example, I am now at Hotpoint and I want to buy a fridge. And I says, okay, I don't have this money, can I borrow? There are some guides over there who would say, okay, download this app and you'll be able to get the finance for this product. So what I'll do is I'll download the app, I register myself. It asks me upload this document, upload this, do this, upload your M-Pesa statement, do your credit reference check. I don't know. It asks me so many things. Thereafter, and I'm just hoping that after I finish uploading all those documents, I will get some limit and I'll be able to walk out with the TV that I want to go home with. Because there's an urge for me to go home with that TV. The lady next to me saying, let's get it. And I'm filling all these documents there, and when I say submit, I get a message saying, we have received your application, we'll come back to you after 24 to 48 hours. Hell, I'm in front of the TV and I want to walk home with that TV. So that process actually is too long. I have done that process myself because I wanted to feel the experience of that. That process is cumbersome. The other thing, we also interviewed several customers as well as several merchants. So when we also talked to the merchants, they complained that once the customer gets the good, they do not get the payments from the BNPL supplier on time. So initially they started promoting these BNPL products as the shop owners, but slowly they reduced down. Actually, there are 2 or 3 large retailers here. I asked them, are you now taking BNPL from these BNPL suppliers? They say they stopped it. I said, why? They say, okay, the payments come in at 15 days initially, then it became 30 days. Now we get the payments after 45 days. So it becomes extremely difficult for us, so that we stopped it. So with all that thing in mind, we thought we want to get into this BNPL space. And that's why we launched a new product. And I'm going to present that product to you today. That product is called Spotit. Joe, just if you can show it. Customers have a mobile banking app. Either they have USSD or they have their own mobile banking app because they are working with some banks among all the banks that we have in the country. We are embedding this product into their existing mobile banking app. So what happens, Joe, can we have my screen please? So this is my mobile and I am going to show you some apps. For example, let me start with one app. This is for, it can't project. Am I too far for the signal? Yeah, you know, when Bill Gates launched Windows 95, yeah, so happens. Can my screen be there? It's not, finally. So this is a mobile banking app for, and we have taken permissions from these banks to show these mobile banking apps. So this is a mobile banking app for Paramount. The signal there is too weak for 4G. Safaricom, please. As it comes up, I also want to show you. For example, this is the NCBA app. I log into NCBA. Well, Joe, can you keep just take the mobile somewhere where there is a better signal? क्या करेगा? Is it okay? But then it won't connect there. Can I just a minute, please? Because I can't connect on Wi-Fi. If I connect, I can't display that. It won't work. Can we, is my screen there? Can they project the screen again? My screen can be projected? Okay, I am not on that screen.
So I think because we are in this room and everyone is consuming data, so maybe we can switch off our data for this to work temporarily for about 20 minutes. Then we try it. Okay? So maybe if we're just requesting you switch off your data for like 20 minutes, then there's less consumption. And then after the demo, we will just go back to our usual.
My screen is not coming.
You can just use radical guest,
Yeah, I'm already sent guest, yeah.
and then you checked in on that small.
So I'm back here. So this is the Paramount mobile banking app. You would see an icon here, get now, pay later. We said buy now, pay later. Can we make it get now, pay later? Because I want to get the goods now. So we want to call it get now, pay later. Let's go to another app. For example, let's say I'm in DIB. This is, again, this is an Islamic bank. So we also have modified the application, the lending application, to meet the Sharia compliance of Islamic banking, and at some point I'll also invite an Islamic expert to say that. But when you get in there, there is also an icon for buy now, pay later here. If I go to NCBA app, and I log in there, you go to the menu here, there is get now, pay later. I want you to understand, so what we have done, we will be going around working with all the banks in the country and requesting them, explaining them how buy now, pay later works, and embedding buy now, pay later application into the existing mobile banking apps. We have an SDK with just one line of code in your mobile banking app. This functionality will sit inside your mobile banking app. If in case to modify your mobile banking app, there is a cost associated to that, we will be able to take up that cost. So let's get back to, let's say here, this is, I'm a customer and now I want to buy something. When I come to that screen, I'll be able to see what my available limit is. 183,760 is my available limit. So what we are giving to the banks? First of all, we are giving an SDK that runs the buy now, pay later in your existing mobile banking app. The other one, what we are giving the banks is a credit scoring engine, which is customizable to the banks. So one bank could set up their own parameters and they would score the customers differently from what the other bank is scoring. So we also give you a scoring engine that allows you to score the customers. And thirdly, what we bring in, a whole range of several merchants across the country, not just in Nairobi, across the country, connected to us. Many of them also keep running the offers. For example, there are offers that are run here, so your customers can actually benefit from those offers. So here I have one customer, his limit is 180,760, which has been derived based on the credit scoring engine, based on the parameter what the bank has inputted on their side. Now, this particular customer walks into a shop. Let's say he gets into Hotpoint. This is the application that we have given to Hotpoint. So, all, not just Hotpoint, but all our merchants would have an application, and they would also have a QR code. So, in case if when I walk in there and I want to make a payment to that, there is also a QR code. If you can show Simran how it is. So, there is a QR code like this everywhere. I say I want to book a sale. The booking of the sale is happening for the side of the merchant. So, I am now with the salesperson at Hotpoint, and I say I want to buy this particular fridge, and I want to buy this TV, I want to do this, I want to do that. He will take your number. This is my number, ladies, you can save it. The agent will ask you, so from which bank are you? So, because I am from Paramount Bank, I will say the agent will select I am from Paramount Bank. All the banks, all the partner banks will be listed here. I say I am from Paramount Bank. What is it that I want to buy? So, I am standing next to a fridge and I want to buy that fridge. So, he would put in the fridge, or he will put some the code, all the items in there will have a code there. Some description, it is 165 liter fridge maybe. And what is the amount? So, I am saying it is 21,600, maybe that is the amount of the fridge, and this is what I want to buy. I can continue, so not just one item that I am buying, I could continue adding as many items as I want. So, I could buy a fridge, and I could buy a microwave, or I could buy something else. And once I submit, I add this item and then I submit it. So, when I submit that, it creates a code here. Customer will go to his mobile banking app. So, he will go to his Paramount mobile banking app. He would put in that code. So, here he says he wants to apply now. He will apply now. Under apply now also we have different categories, because we are saying customers, is the BNPL product is not just for buying goods. He can say I want to do BNPL, I want to go to Dubai in December and I want to have a ticket for it now. I can take the ticket now and pay later. So, for this particular example, let us say I am here, I am saying proceed, the code that was sent to me, first I will put the merchant code for Hotpoint. Then I put the code that was received to me, 173T. It tells me this is what I am buying and this is the amount. Once I confirm that, it gives me this screen. This is customer's mobile banking app. It gives me this screen. He says, initial payment I will be doing is 2160. Now, this is set by the bank, because bank might say on every purchase I want the customer to deposit 5%, 10% or 0% of it. So, in this particular case, the bank has said that customer is going to pay you 2160, which is I don't know, 1%, 5%, 10% something. The amount that I am going to borrow is 19,440, and I want to borrow for how long? I said, okay, I want to borrow for 6 months, 5 months, whatever I set it up, and then system will show me my installment schedule. If I say I want to just borrow for 2 months, maybe my schedule is now changed. Once I accept it and I agree to that, merchant will get the notification, the loan account will be created on your side. So, we give you a mini co-banking system to your commercial, to your bank. A loan account will be created on the fly there, merchant will be notified, and the goods will be delivered. It's as simple as that. So at the moment, it will create a loan into your system. And then obviously it gives you a smiley because you are happy. And what we are saying is, for us, BNPL is a way of upgrading your life. You see, today there is a lot of lending happening on, we don't want to say BNPL is another Fuliza, is not another M-Shori, because what's happening is when you do a Fuliza, when you do M-Shori, the customer is getting the money, you as a bank don't know what's happening with that money. The money just gets spent up. Here you are building an history for your own customer. The customer is building the history for himself, but you are also building a credit history for the customer, that today he bought a fridge, for example. Most likely after 3 months, he would be buying a TV. Most likely after some months, he will be buying something else. So you are also building a history for your customers. And the credit scoring engine that we give you will always be enhancing itself, so that there is an AI component to it, so that every time he keeps borrowing, based on the patterns of his borrowing, the credit score can keep on improving. So that's one. The other one thing that I wanted to share with you is customers can borrow but can also get a virtual card. And you know why this virtual card is there? I might go to Alibaba and I want to buy something else there. I go to Jumia and I buy a nice TV there. Maybe the Jumia price of that TV is better than I get it at a retailer. So I go to Jumia, and Jumia is not integrated. I will also show you how it gets integrated to the e-commerce side, but maybe Alibaba it is not integrated. But I still want to buy something from Alibaba. I will take this loan and I'll put it on my one-time credit card, which I will use it on whichever website it is, and everything works same. So you are not just limiting your customer to the BNPL merchants that you have in Sarit Center and Two Rivers Mall, or in Naivasha or Nakuru or Kisumu. You are also allowing your customers to take a BNPL to buy something on internet. The same API that we give to the banks for putting it on the mobile banking app, we also have for e-commerce site providers. Joe, can we show that screen? The other one, where? Okay. I like this one, upgrade your lifestyle. Isn't it cool? Yeah, I know. Because you're upgrading your lifestyle. You never had a fridge, or you had a small fridge and you're buying a big fridge. So this is, let's say, it's a sample, it's not live. So you do some shopping at Furniture Palace or at Jumia or any other places, and you click on checkout. Once you do checkout, the process is the same the way I showed it to you on your mobile. So say checkout. Are you checking what to check out? Is it touch screen? If so, I can. It's not. Okay, that's fine. it cannot. The flow from the checkout will be the same. You'll be asked for an OTP. You put the OTP the way I put it. It will show you. The limit will be there. I say I want to pay for it, and the loan will be created here. So the same flow is also available on e-commerce website. So we are also in discussion with Jumia, for example, and Jumia would have an option called Buy Now, Pay Later. He does that, and if you are a member of these Buy Now, Pay Later apps that we have, your customers will be able to do that. Joe, put back on my phone. So the same interface everywhere. So if I go to NCBA app, I log in again, I go here, I do this, same thing. Now over there my limit was higher, here my limit is a bit lesser, because NCBA might be using some different scoring parameters than what Paramount was using. Or maybe my salary is always getting deposited in Paramount, so NCBA has lesser data for me, so my limit came in less. If I go to DIB, for example, maybe the limit is something else. If I go to any other bank, the limit could be different. So every bank has an option to score their customer the way they want to score it. The whole process, by the time I start this, by the time I walk home with my TV, is less than a minute. So I hope the Hotpoint guys will be happy that the process is shorter. The merchants also get the money instantly. We are settling them either instant or worst come worst before the day ends. And for that we are using Pesalink. So thank you very much, Pesalink guys, for helping us there. Some questions? You came back again. Okay, so this is how the OTP works. Put the OTP. He gets the same screen here. The same screen that you saw here is the same screen here. You would put in he wants to pay it in 6 months, for example. He'll see the schedule here. You agree and continue. Everything is the same. Everything remains the same, be it buying physically at a shop or buying online. And if a merchant is online but not connected to us, you can create your own virtual card and still do the shopping. All we want to do is we want to just make sure that your life is upgraded. Some questions? Yeah, we can take up the questions, and let's get back to the screen, mobile screen, Joe.
Mr. Kamal, there's a question here, please.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Christine Oguna from KCB. My question is, because you mentioned that you have a scoring solution within this platform.
Yeah.
As banks, we have our own scoring systems and our own business rules. So how will that work? Will it be like a first level of scoring and then a second level of scoring?
So if your bank has a scoring engine, then you don't use our scoring engine. We'll pick up the score that you provide and the amount that you provide and put it here. You don't have to use our scoring engine. For the banks who don't have the scoring engine, we give them a scoring engine. So it's like when you buy a car. The car comes with the music system. If you have your own music system, you put your own music system because you like a loud music, you like fancy music. But otherwise the car comes with a stereo. Same way, if you have your own scoring engine, well and good, we'll use your scoring engine. If you don't have your own scoring engine, we'll give you the scoring engine. Yes, please.
My name is Caroline.
Yes, Caroline.
And I want to ask a question as a consumer. So, assuming I bank with the Paramount Bank, and that's where my salary goes, or that's where my business income goes.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what is the limit for BNPL, what is the limit it can lend me, and what is the maximum repayment period? If I want, for example, to walk into DTB and buy a Mercedes-Benz. So will it afford me that limit? And what extent of repayment period can I be afforded?
Okay, so these rules are set by the banks on what is the term and how much limit they want to give based on how they have scored you. But we normally recommend that the loan that you give on BNPL, let us not exceed more than 6 months. That's what we are recommending to the banks. But obviously it is for them to take a decision. Vanini, you have something to add to that? And the reason I am saying 6 months is, if somebody takes a loan for a microwave for 6 months, and he pays it in 6 months, then we know that on 7 months most likely he'll buy another BNPL for a fridge for another 6 months. So let's keep it shorter, that's what we feel. We don't want to keep it too long, but you also don't want to keep it too short. But the amount that you get depends now with your bank. But you'll be able to see it right here, so you don't really have to go and buy something and say, oh my God, I bought this, but now there is no limit to that. Everything is so transparent here. Mr. Jenga, you had something? Is answered? Okay, so how much will you give me?
Depend. Your score.
Please, the mic is...
So, what was the question? How much credit will I give you?
Yes. Not me as a person. I mean, I would love. Yeah, well, but generally, how much normally you give out?
In terms of credit? It depends on your credit score. I mean, the limit will be set by a scoring engine, obviously. I guess my question really is around, it's very API driven, correct? The platform?
I'm not able to catch you properly.
Sorry?
Yes.
API driven. Okay, all right. Because we'd like to embed it in all our payments journeys, almost like checkout in a way.
So this event finishes in another half an hour. We can go together to your bank and start integrating. See, what I also want to do is, I'll take one question, but on a lighter note, what we want to do that, very soon Black Friday will be coming and Christmas is coming. Can we have the banks connected to us? We will put all the efforts. We are taking up all the cost. So I think it should not be very difficult. Yes, please.
Okay. My name is still Isaiah Opio. I'm looking at it in terms of growth opportunities, and this is to the banks. Because we don't want a situation where it should be targeted growth. And targeted growth, I mean, you talk to the right customer who actually has the right, mainly say, the right qualification. What does it mean? There are situations where a bank has told some of us that, you know what, you can apply for a mobile loan. When you go in there, you find the limits are not there. I mean, it's quite discouraging. It's like they're provoking you while you are peaceful. So normally as a bureau, to help you in this growth journey, we do get data about people who have cleared their loans elsewhere. Look at it from a point that Isaiah was actually servicing maybe 500,000 loan elsewhere, and he's actually cleared that loan. We as the bureau send to KCB that Isaiah has actually, we call it full payment triggers. Isaiah actually cleared 500,000 elsewhere. With that data, you actually input it here and tell me something about, Isaiah, do you know you can actually enjoy a BNPL limit of this? That is data driven. But if you're going to tell me, Isaiah, you can actually, while I was peaceful, you can actually apply for a BNPL, then I apply and I get a limit of 2,000, I really feel provoked. And it will be very hard to convince me otherwise, or to obey the text, because we are looking at growth opportunities, just like he says. Then also 6 months is such a good thing, because 6 months, if you do 6 months, I know there is that part that is going to, some people are going to be disqualified, not really disqualified, but may not afford, because that's 6 months. But it's also a good trial, because if you give for a long time, there's that opportunity of hopping everywhere to look for that BNPL. Thank you.
Just to add to that, what we also want to do that is we also want to take up the marketing of this product. So, as the customers are paying the loans and the loan gets paid off, we want bank to allow us to get back to that customer with a polite and interesting and friendly SMS saying, yes, you paid your fridge, I hope it's working well, are you ready to buy something else? If so, there is an offer in Hotpoint, if there is an offer on doing something. You click here, it brings you here, and again he gets into the next loan cycle. Yes, please.
Hello, and my name is Judith, and congratulations for your launch. I have a question. I think we also need to understand how the bank will be able to, and SACCOs actually, will be able to mitigate risk, because that is not being addressed. How will the SACCOs or banks be able to mitigate their risk? I had a question on the credit scoring, which you've mentioned, and as you did your research, were credit scorings also, the risk in terms of SACCOs or banks which are not accepting the movable collaterals, how are they covered? I could like to hear that. And then how is Craft Silicon benefiting from this? Are there commissions that you'll be expecting the banks or SACCOs to pay you? And how much interest will it be charged? Will it be based on the SACCO or the bank's interest? And will it be based on the interest that you're guiding? I think that's all. Thank you.
So first, how we make money. We want to get into the arrangement on the both sides. When we are selling this, when we are bringing the customers to a merchant is going to share some commission with us. So when I get a fridge, some percent of that value comes to Craft Silicon, which is shared with the bank. So bank is making income from the side of the merchant through us. When bank is rolling out this product to their customer, they are earning interest and charging some processing fees. You are sharing a small part of that to us. So we earn on this side, and we also earn on this side, and both the sides where we earn, we also bring it to the bank. So it's a symbiotic relationship between us and the bank. That's one. The other one is how do we mitigate the risk? We come with a scorecard which we have really worked very, very hard to make sure that the limit that is shown there is to certain extent the limit that customer would definitely pay. So we have worked hard, hiring great data scientists and working with players on the credit reference bureaus to come up with a scorecard. Yes, you will modify that scorecard, but we'll come with a template scorecard which is specifically designed for BNPL products. But at the end of the day, it's an unsecured lending. A customer goes on with the fridge, and if he doesn't pay, I don't know, will you send your guys to repossess that fridge? And even if you do that, will you be able to recover that loan? This is more or less an unsecured lending to certain extent. And there are insurances available for that. And if you want to get into that insurances, there are also different charges to that. But otherwise, these are your customers, which we have rated. Just like I walk into my bank Paramount and says, I want to buy, can you give me a loan? They would still give me a loan. I hope I answered the question. Did I miss anything, ma'am? Yes. We can't hear. The mic is not working.
Hi, my name is Amon from Partisan.co.ke. Now, I'm asking from a merchant's point of view. Now, most of our customers who come for the BNPL product usually are
better than this. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hello again. I'm Amon from Patterson. Now, asking from a merchant's point of view,
Yeah.
most of our customers who pick up the BNPL products
Yes.
are usually Generation Z and millennials, and most of them are unbanked. These are not banked customers. So I'm wondering how will Spotit enter into this? And my second question actually is on transparency. Now, when the customers come in and they want to choose a BNPL, the customers usually need to see the interest rates so that they can plan better and know.
Okay, so the phase one of this product is only for customers who are banking with a bank. Remember the problem that the merchants were facing where the BNPL providers were not paying on time. There are some BNPL providers also going under. And the reason that's happening is because they are not able to score the customers correctly, and the reason they are not able to score the customers correctly is because they don't have enough data. They only go through either uploading an M-Pesa statement, the frauds are happening. So we thought the first phase of this product, as we learn, should be for the commercial bank customers. And as we learn from there, I think the next step would be we'll figure out how to now start lending to customers who are not banked. But that said, what we are also saying that we are going to have our own BAs in these merchant places. So if I walk into a hot point and say I want to buy this fridge and says, okay, do you want to use Spotit to do that? There is a BNPL offer to that. He says, okay, but I don't have a bank account. The same BAs can actually open a bank account for you, for that customer for your bank. So we also want to provide these additional services to our banking partners. Transparency, I think when you apply for a loan, I'm sure it should show you somewhere. Pramod, does it show somewhere? Interest rate?
Currently, we are showing in the existing loans, but the new loans are.
Oh, the new loans, there is no interest. So we should add that.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, we'll add the interest rate. We'll show it here. Yes, please.
Thank you so much. My name is Raphael from Family Bank. In the journey of financial inclusion, I think digitizing payments of financial services is very key, and that does not leave lending out of that conversation. I followed keenly, and I think Raft Solcon, you're doing a good job. I think we should have an engagement behind the tents. We see how we are going to have it on board even on our mobile app as Family Bank. My question is, the user journey was somehow mentioned, but on one side, you spoke on easiness of accessing it. I'm trying to wonder, and forgive my naiveness, during the time of payment, the value movement now and the settlement, how does merchant receive their value? Is it from the bank, or is it customer paying the store where he picked the goods in installments? How does the value move at the end of the day? Thank you.
So, first of all, I think you are really my family member. So, thank you very much for giving us an opportunity to come and see you. The way it works is once the loan is disbursed, the merchant is paid immediately. We are the ones who are settling with the merchants, banks are the ones who are settling with us. So, because there will be different banks out there buying at different places, we consolidate on our side and we settle with the merchants on the same day in the evening. So, it's 24-hour settlement. Everything you shop in the course of the day gets settled in the midnight that day. Thereafter, the bank is recovering from the customers from the principal plus the interest. But the merchant is out of the picture, it's only us to remain in the picture. Because we also want merchants to promote this product. Today, BNPL products are not promoted by the merchants because they had a very bad experience. I mean, I visited almost like 50 different merchants in this town. everyone had the same thing. Yes, it's an interesting product and people really use that, but we don't like supporting that because we are not getting paid on time. So we want to get that attended like this. Yes, please. Mike, please here. Daphne.
Thank you very much, Kamal. This is good job, well executed. I don't know whether I missed the interest that you are charging. I've seen an upfront fee of 10%.
So the upfront fee is not what the customer is paying as charges or fees. Upfront fees is the one, because he's buying a TV of 200,000. We want customer to commit something. He doesn't take a loan for 200,000. So that money is actually not ours or yours. It's just that it goes to the merchant. So he would have paid that money either cash or through any other way. The interest rate are also decided by the banks. And as we heard from the merchant, is that this interest rate should not be kept high. Currently, I think the interest rate that existing BNPL providers are charging, if you sum it up, I think it is reaching 45–50%. Let's not go there. Let's keep it low as possible. Any more questions? Another maybe 5 minutes, then we end. And I could have multiple loans, by the way, before summer. So you see, I took a loan, so it keeps on adding. My limit is up to 160. It was, I think, the initial limit that I had was 300,000. As I keep presenting, my limit keeps reducing. So I buy something here, then go somewhere else. I can buy after some days. I can buy somewhere else. Yeah.
Okay. My name is Benson. I'm a merchant. So. I think I might have missed something, but it's that the product is purely tied to the banks?
Yes.
So it means that the market that is outside the bank, let me say, I don't know the experts.
Non-banking customers.
Non-banking customers are completely out of this product.
It's not just banks, it's banks and financial institutions. So even SACCOs, we are also talking to all the SACCOs, we are also talking to all the microfinances. So the customers that we might be leaving out are the customers who don't have a bank account, is maybe purely banking on mobile money. But it's not just the banks, it's banks, SACCOs and microfinances.
Right, thank you. Thanks, Kamal. My name is Muni. I think this is really amazing, and it continues to blur the line between lending and payments. But when I look at it and just add to what the gentleman said back there, I think then the next step to this would be, and looking at the bankers in the house, is to ask ourselves, how do you then democratize this further? Because just like he's asking, it means you've tied it back to the banked customers. And we all know that's a very small percentage of the people that are making payments in Kenya. So the question is, how does Craft Silicon and the banking industry sort of package this into something that can be what you'd call payments everywhere, right? So today, if I'm a merchant, and especially if you look at the gig economy, for example, they will not come, and not in about it, the truth is, they'll not come to Paramount, they'll not come to DTB or the NPKs of this world. Media platforms where there's a lot of trade, happening.
Okay, so as I said, look, there has to be a starting point. There has to be a starting point which is really a practical, profitable product to the market. and a sustainable product. We also don't want to launch a product. There are so many fintechs launching a product like this just to scale up. They are giving out loans after loans after loans, and you hear that after 2 months, or sorry, 2 years, they are dead. So the first step that we want to do is sustainable product launch with the existing financial institutions in the country. And as we learn from there, we see how we start addressing the non-banked customers. Non-bank customers also, I think we all will have to figure out how we are going to play this space, because it's going to be extremely difficult with this Safaricom lending out at 0% to SMEs. But let's start somewhere. I think we are a local company, and we, I think, understand this market like all of you. And every single day, we will be changing something here to feed the market demands. And we'll continue doing that, and I feel the product will succeed. It may not be like up there from day one, but I think the path to growth is, to me, it looks very clear. Yes, sir?
Okay, thanks so much for the presentation. My name is Cyprian from Platinum Credit. I just have one question, because I've seen in every banking app, the potential customer has a specific limit. Now, I'm sitting here and asking myself, if with different banks, so that means probably as a person I'm going to get a limit of 100,000 from Paramount, I'm going to get a limit of, let's say, 200,000 from NCB and any other bank. Even if I'm banking with 5 banks, I'm going to get limits to that. Now, from a control perspective, to try and avoid overfunding, is there any sort of information within the ecosystem that is going to be shared across board to ensure that at least, depending on the limits that we've given out, we know that this particular customer has consumed X based on the limit that they got from another financial institution?
So immediately he applies for a loan here, we record this loan into the Credit Reference Bureau. And I don't know, maybe you want to add how that can be managed? Mike here, please.
Yeah, so what we propose is what we call real-time data submission. Currently, we've rolled out real-time data submission API for digital lenders, meaning as you disburse the loan, the data is submitted. Because currently, the banks would actually submit data on mobile loans end of day and normal loans after end of month. So there's that likelihood of that abuse or overconsumption. So what we propose that all the players in BNPL, they integrate to real-time data submission API. So that if Isaiah goes in there and takes a facility, a BNPL facility, the moment it is disbursed and I get the facility, they automatically send the data. With that, it will actually eliminate any kind of abuse, because there's that part where for Paramount you go 100,000, NCB another 200,000, and that may lead to default. So we'll actually propose you integrate to real-time data submission API, which is ready. Thank you.
I also want to add something, not exactly what he said, but you know, Little has close to over 1 million customers now, million transacting customers. And in terms of our drivers, which are Boda Boda and taxi drivers, we have close to about 100,000 plus drivers on the platform. Now, why is the growth of Little like this? Why are so many people, I mean, I'm sure over here, I'm very, very sure 80% of your corporates are with us, even more than that. Maybe 95% of you are on Little. I know here, Family Bank here, Equity is here. I think everybody here is on Little. You guys are on Little. Now, the reason we are able to grow the customer base on Little is because the startup mentality of growth is slightly different than the growth mentality of a financial institution. Startup would really like to grow. They would figure it out how to make the profit on the way, While any time you are with a bank, the first thing they would ask is how is this product going to be profitable. We ask that question later, you guys ask those questions upfront. So for us, like today you open Little and you want to buy something in Java, for example, and the Java mail is costing you 800 shillings. On Little you might get that at 700 shilling. The reason Java is able to give us at 700 is because we are able to bring in so many customers to Java and we have a better rate of meal with them. The same thing we want to do here. If a customer just walks into Hotpoint and says, I want to buy a TV on cash, you might say it will be 200,000. But on Spotit, maybe we are able to agree some better price for you guys. So the growth will come from there. Okay, next.
My name is Collins from Cooperative Bank.
Yeah, where? I can't see. Okay, sorry.
Okay, sorry about that. Collins from Cooperative Bank. My question is on, this is a model that has at least 4 parties. That is the financial institution, the craft silicon, we have the merchant, and also we have the customer.
Yes.
What is there a platform for dispute resolution, especially if a customer purchases a faulty item? What happens? Thank you.
So dispute resolution and refunds and returns are managed by us. Vanini, are you there? If you can answer. Dispute resolution, how are we handling?
From a merchant point of view, in terms of dispute resolution, we're working with merchants who have warranty and have return policies and refund policies. Now, obviously, when you've purchased, we are assuming a sale has gone through. So, and the merchant has already been paid. So if you're a consumer who wants to return an item, you will follow the return policy of the merchant. And it could state you have an exchange. That exchange could be an upgrade or a downgrade. Now, the system will cater for that upgrade or the downgrade, but it will be initiated from the merchant. If it's a cancellation, it will follow the warranty processes of a merchant because all these products go through warranty. It's either a replacement or an exchange warranty. If it's a formal cancellation where we are meant to refund money back to the bank, then it will be cancelled from the merchant and the bank will be refunded. And then that loan will be cancelled from the bank point of view.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Larry from Gulf African Bank. I just want to extend the question. From what point does the customer initiate the dispute resolution process?
He does it from the app. Vanini? Where is she? Pramod, the dispute is happening from the customer side, yes?
Correct. So customer goes to the merchant place and initiates either the refund with the top up or a degradation of the item. From there, it has to be initiated from the app.
When you just explain the refund, the dispute process, how does it work? Is it on the side of customer, on the side of merchant? Very quickly.
Okay.
But that's our headache. All I'm saying is that is going to be our headache, not the bank's headache. We are going to take that up on your behalf.
Okay, but that's on a nutshell. So everything is based on the system. So when a customer does this application on the app, and let's take Hotpoint, I know the return policy for Hotpoint. I'm a customer, I've bought from Hotpoint. 2 days later, my kettle is not working. There is a 7-day return policy at Hotpoint that states you can bring it back and we'll exchange it for you. So the assumptions we had when we were creating this product was, I'm going back and I'm taking the kettle. But that kettle that I wanted or I had is now out of stock. What do I do? Am I going to get the same product or do I want to upgrade? If I have the capability to upgrade that product and I want to use the same limit to upgrade, the system should allow me to do that by simply having the merchant initiate that process from the app, that's the merchant app, and cancel that specific order with instructions to upgrade. Because I'm the consumer, I've already said, you don't have the kettle, I want to upgrade it. And it will follow the same process that they initially did when they were making the payment. Then they will go back to their app, they will see the new product has already been uploaded on the system, they will agree to the terms and conditions, and we will now pay the merchant the top up. That's a simple process. Now, let's take the same situation of the kettle, but when I come, you tell me that kettle is no longer in stock. But I don't, and you cannot afford a higher one, a higher limit one. Or you don't also have the limit. What will happen? I want to downgrade. As a consumer, we cannot tell you no. So the merchant will initiate the cancellation of that particular order with a downgrade, what do you call it? With a downgrade instruction. So the system will know that the merchant has already been paid a particular amount, but now they are requesting to downgrade the item that the customer wants. So it will follow the same process. The customer will agree to the terms and conditions of the new product, but in this case, the merchant will need to refund the over and above amount back to the wallet that moves the money. So the money moves from Craft Silicon to the merchant. So in this case, it will move from the merchant to Craft Silicon to the bank to settle the over amount of the consumer. Now, when it's a cancellation, it's like the downgrade, but in this case, we are saying the customer doesn't want any of the products that you have available at the moment, so he wants to cancel. So he will cancel that product. The money will move from the merchant to our wallet and then to the bank to clear the loan that had already been booked. So I think that's the flow. And what we're saying is it is also paperless, and it is still within that same system that you're working with. So the merchant doesn't go over and above from where they are working in terms of their interface, and neither do you as a consumer go anywhere else to get the three solved.
We are almost on our time, so if something else, otherwise we end. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, let's sit down and
All right, thank you so much to all of you for your time. Apologies for the light fluctuations. You know, technology, it has its ups, it has its downs. So thank you so much for bearing with us and understanding. However, I am thrilled here to stand before you to express my heartfelt gratitude for your presence at this exhilarating Spotit launch app event. I can finally say the name Spotit, thank God. Now, this moment is filled with awe and excitement as we introduce Spotit, an amazing solution brought to you by Craft Silicon. I want to extend a special thanks to our esteemed panel speakers, as well as recognize our exceptional team, whose efforts and dedication have made Spotit a reality today. To our cherished customers, media personnel, and industry colleagues, your presence here today fills us with immense joy. As we unveil Spotit to the world, we eagerly await your valuable feedback and your suggestions. This is just the beginning of an extraordinary journey. Together, let us seize the limitless opportunities that lie ahead and revolutionize the way we connect, engage, and interact. I would like to take this opportunity to invite the media to a dedicated question and answer session with our team. Once again, thank you for being part of this momentous launch. Have a wonderful day ahead, and let's embark on this remarkable journey together. Looking forward to doing business with all of you, and have a wonderful day and a safe drive back to your office. Thank you so much.